What were you asking me first
You were
before I
telling
went
about your
on?
mom.
Oh, my mother was an amazing knitter and sewer and artist. She painted tons of pictures, some that I have in my house here. And she made my wedding dress. She made Pat's wedding dress. She made all of our fabulous formals and our, for dances and for weddings. And I would take her and drag her through every store from ZCMI to Arbex downtown, looking for just the perfect shade of purple or lavender or green or whatever it was that I wanted, because I was way into clothes and had to look cool. And she would never let me like go to the Village Brownstone and spend $20 on a shirt, God forbid. But she would just make it. Or I'd see a really cool dress that I thought was just the most beautiful thing in the world, and I needed to have it for the dance, and I found it at Adrian and Emily, and it would be $40, which was a fortune in those days when I was, 13. But she'd just go, okay, let's just go look at it. And then we'd come home, go to the fabric store on the way home, and she would make it. She was remarkable. She knit so many sweaters and made so many dresses. But I was the worst. I was the worst one as far as, she'd make a dress for Pat for a dance, but Pat didn't care what it looked like. It wasn't like, oh, and I want it just like this, and I want it just like that. That was me. I was that one. I was the one that had to make her redo things 3 and 4 times. That's so silly. And then she put me in a sewing class in the summer. Kathy Stobie and Marianne Stobie that lived across the street, and Nancy Spencer that lived next door. We all went to sewing class all summer long, and we learned how to sew. My mother told me that she could never teach me how to sew, that she had tried to teach Judy and tried to teach Pat, and that they couldn't do it. And so she was going to send me to this class with the other girls in the neighborhood, and it worked out. I'm a pretty good sewer, you know it. I've made Stephanie things that you just can't even believe how good they were. I'm not going to tell you about them.
Why not?
I made her this sweetest little darling dress that had this, it was that Christmas Scotch plaid taffeta skirt in green and red, and then the top of it was white, and it had little tucks with little eyelet and lace on each side and around the collar, and I have pictures of her in it. I don't know, I just made a lot of clothes. I like to do it. I suppose for the longest time I felt like I needed to be like my mother, because my mom was great. As I've aged, I realize now that she was a narcissist, and and that it was all about her. It made her look good to do that stuff for us. But it made me look good too. I loved my stuff. I liked the clothes, and I loved that there was no challenge too much for her to accept. I would show her, here's the dress I want. I don't have a pattern, but you can do it. And she could. She'd just lay it out on the floor on newspaper and trace around stuff and cut it out, the pattern, and make the fabric. She told